You know that one guy who says, bro, I just fought with my agent. Yeah, but don't be that guy. Today I'm showing you 9 context engineering hacks that'll make your agent actually smart. Like Claude Code, Cursor, Codex, whatever you're using. These tricks will turn you from a coder to a coder, but a little bit smarter. But before that, let's talk a little bit about context engineering. Yeah, I'll give it under 2 minutes. And if you already know it, there is a timestamp down there, so just skip it. And I really like this repo. I think it does a really good job of, telling dummies like me, what is context engineering. And there is one example that really separates between prompt engineering and context engineering. So when it comes to prompt engineering, it's all about what you tell the agent to do. But context engineering takes it to another level. It's all about giving your agent what to see, what tool it has, and what type of memory it is accessible to. So I am not trying to be a smart guy here, but this is my definition of context engineering. So context engineering comprises of 2 parts. It is, what you put in your context window. If you don't know what context window means, it just means that it is all of the memory, all of the short-term memory that your large language model has. And context engineering also relates to, like what tools or what type of tasks that you're giving to the agent. So in this video, I'll be exploring how you can optimize your context window, as well as optimize the tools and the tasks that you're delegating to your agent. Okay, we're going to start with something spicy here. We're going to talk about subagents. Yeah, I know in previous video, I said that subagents are only available in Claude Code, but there are workarounds so that you can use it in Cursor, Copilot, or even Codex. But first, let me guide you through what is subagents even means. So subagents are just the forks of your primary agent at the time it is used. So it's not very complicated. It is the same agent that you're chatting with, but it is running in the background and your main agent is still there chatting with you. So how can you use subagents in Cursor? Well, it's pretty simple. You just need to click on these 3 dots and choose duplicate chats. So now an entire new chat that looks exactly your current chat will be spawned. Now in your main chat, you can start task 1, and in the duplicated chat, you can start task 2. And these 2 tasks will be run at the same time, just like how subagents work. Yeah, I know you guys are probably complaining that this is not the subagents that we're asking for, like in Claude Code. But again, conceptually, both ways work the same. As I said earlier, subagents are just forks of your main primary agent. Subagents have the same context window, have the same tools. So you just need to duplicate your chat and run different tasks on it, and you have your own subagents. I know it's an entirely different user interface, but conceptually, it's the same thing. Bruh, I am just so disappointed in Copilot right now, because I can't even duplicate my chat. The best thing that I can do is, click and choose copy all and paste it in my new chat section. And maybe I can start a new task here. Sorry, you guys. Copilot just sucks. And this is the best thing that I can give you guys. Okay, now let's move on to Codex. So to duplicate chat in Codex is a little bit more complicated than what you do in the other 3, but it's definitely much better than doing that in Copilot. So the first thing that you need to do is go to the .codex folder in your root directory. And as you can see that today is 16th of October, and my last check section is the one that I'm currently having right here. And if I want to duplicate this chat, it's pretty simple. You just need to start a new section. And right here in the root directory, you can see that a new section has been created. Now what you want to do is go to your previous section, copy everything here, and paste it inside of your new section. Now what you want to do is you going to start Codex again by using Codex resume and choose the latest section. As you can see here, there are 2 sections that look exactly like each other. And when I choose this one, you can see here, these 2 sections look exactly the same. So much better than Copilot, I guess. Okay, I know you guys are probably shouting at my face right now because, subagents are not just forked context window tools and memories. They have more task-specific system prompt For example, we may have sub-agents for, writing unit tests, or we may have a sub-agent working on the front end and one sub-agent working in back end. First, let's talk about how you make slash commands in Claude Code. I know I did it in another video, but now I'll just tell you again because it's pretty simple. Everything is so simple with Claude Code. So when you're working on a project, of course, you use Claude Code and the .claude folder will be created automatically. And in this folder, you just need to create the commands folder and add your markdown files. These files will be your slash commands. And when you want to use it, just use slash, and the first thing that pops up is my parallel task, which is the name of this markdown file. Just click on it, and yeah, I'm using my slash command. How it works for cursor? Well, surprise, surprise, in a .cursor folder, you also have a folder named commands, and in this folder, you also have markdown files, which are your slash commands. So as you can see here, I have one command in my folder. So I can use this command by just hit slash and the name of the slash command, which is review code. But the craziest part about this is that you can actually use the slash commands from Claude Code. In my Claude folder, you can see that I have 2 slash commands. And when I hit slash, I can see these commands inside of cursor, which is crazy. So maybe I don't have to, design a set of slash commands specifically in .cursor because I can reuse my slash commands in Claude Code, which is pretty efficient. Okay, my friends, let's back to GitHub Copilot. But thankfully this time, GitHub Copilot does not stress us out because, to use slash commands in GitHub Copilot, it's pretty straightforward. In the .github folder, we have another folder named prompts. Like, I don't know, why don't you just name it commands like the other people? So weird. But again, we have markdown files in this folder, and to use them in your GitHub Copilot, you just need to hit slash and the name of the markdown file. This time it's Java Spring Boot. Now I can use this slash command like in Cursor or Claude Code. Finally, let's talk about Codex. To set up slash commands in Codex is a little bit different. You don't set up slash commands inside of your project. You actually set up these inside of your .codex folder in your root directory. So as you can see here, we also have like a prompts folder, and we add these slash commands inside of this folder. And of course, these are in markdown files. Now go back to Codex and use slash plus the name of your command. So yeah, just like that. Spoiler alert, I'm showing you 9 tricks that we were talking about in this video. And the first 2 things that we talk about are agents and plan mode. They fall into the second category of context engineering that I said earlier. It is what tools and tasks you give your agents. With slash commands, you give specific instructions to your coding agent. And with sub-agents, you delegate tasks that are maybe not as important as the tasks of your primary agent to your sub-agents. So that's the first 2 things. Now let's talk about plan mode. Okay, first let's do it in Claude Code because it's so easy. You just need to hit Shift Tab and there you go. You are on plan mode. And what is even plan mode? Plan mode just means that your coding agent will not edit any of your files or create any new code. They just, spend time and read your code and make a really detailed plan for your implementation or for your bugs. And how about cursor? It's also the same. You just need to change the agent mode to plan mode. And there you go. You are now using plan mode. It can be that easy using Copilot. Now, we also have different modes for Copilot. But again, we just have 3 mode, agent, as, and edit. We don't have a plan mode as default. So we got to create our own mode. As you can see here, I created my own plan mode. And how can we create custom modes? It's very easy. Just hit configure modes and you can create different mode. Now, when I click on my plan mode, you can see that it's just a prompt template and I tell exactly what I want my agent to do or Claude Code to do in my plan mode. And the list of tools here are just, search tool or maybe using fetch tool to get the latest information on the internet, or Byterover MCP tools to get the memory. I don't want my agent to do any of the editing code because it is plan mode. And where does this template live? Again, it in .github, and there is a folder for chat modes. Just created this folder and add your markdown file in this folder, and you have your own custom modes. Now let's talk about plan mode in Codex. And you guess what? We don't have plan mode in Codex, which sucks, I know. So the best thing we can do here is create a / command as what we did earlier, and we name it plan. Okay. So when we come back to Codex, we can use the / command just like what we did earlier. Now hit plan. Yeah, this is the plan mode that we have in Codex. Okay, we're done with the first three, which is all about, tools and, delegating tasks. Now let's move on how to optimize your context window. First, we'll talk about context management. So the way we manage context in Claude Code and Codex are pretty similar. There is a built-in / command for this. So in Codex, we would use /status, and we can see all the information about our context window. First of all, it is a new section, so the context window size is 100%. In Claude Code, we also had the / command context. When we use it, we have all the information about our context window, like the memory files, how many percentage that it take up the context window, and all the MCP servers are also taking up a part in the context window. So definitely more information than in Codex. In Cursor is a little bit annoying because the only thing that we know about our context window is the percentage that is currently taking up. So, as you can see that in this context window, I've used up about 11% of the entire context window. And when I hover on it, I can see that it is about 22K tokens that have been used. So definitely not a lot of information that I can see here compared to Codex and Claude Code. All right, it keeps getting worse. With Copilot, you can't even see the percentage of your section. The best thing that you can do here is see the usage that you have left with your plan. Currently I'm using the free plan, so I've used up about 22% of my monthly limits. So on the Reddit, GitHub Copilot team said that this feature that you can see the context size will be added in September or October. But right now, 16th of October, I don't see this feature added yet to VS Code. So again, it's GitHub Copilot. You can't just expect too much from it, right? Okay, that's context management. Now, let's move on to my favorite tip. It is memory. Okay, when we talk about memories, we talk about static markdown files that are living inside of your project. So, for example, when you're using Claude Code, the memory file that you will get is claude.md. Similarly, for Codex, agents.md will be your file. And how about Cursor? Okay, Cursor memories are a little bit different. So let me show you here. When you click on setting and you click on rules and memories, so you can see the memory here. So for Cursor, their definition of memories are all of the preferences that you have while you're coding with it. So Cursor track that I don't like Cursor to change my files without my permission, which is understandable, right? But Cursor has another type of memory that it calls rules. So as you can see here, there is a section for project rules and user rules. These are the rules that will be accessible to your Cursor while you're coding. User rules just means that it will be accessible to all of your projects, but project rules are only specific to a certain repo that you're working on. You can add your rules here, or in .cursor, you can add your rules directly into the folder rules. Right. So in terms of memories and rules, I think Cursor does a better job here because, it's an IDE. It has better user interface and user experience. And in the settings, I can see all of my memories, all of my preferences, and all of the rules as well. So it's very visible from a user perspective like me. Okay, now let's talk about memory in Copilot. So for Copilot fanboys, please don't worry. I'm not going to trash talk your favorite coding agent, at least not in this trick. So for Copilot memory, We also have a specific markdown file for Copilot, which is Copilot instruction, which lives inside a .github folder. So in my previous video, I said that agents.md have become the standard for many coding agents as a memory file. So maybe we don't need to have Copilot instructions because Copilot has also adopted agents.md as their memory file, which is really good. And I gotta give praise for Copilot on this one. Because even though Claude Code and Cursor are really good, they do not adopt agents.md as the system memory file. So we gotta have their separate memory file, Claude.md, and Cursor rules and memories, which can be a little bit overwhelming because many markdown files get added into your project, which is not always a good thing. But there's one critical limitation with this type of memory, which is that, what if I want to communicate between Codex and Claude Code, with agents.md or even Claude.md? Like, I can't even do that because, these are separate products. These are separate agents. How can I communicate? Like maybe I'm working on a feature in Codex and I want Claude Code to continue its work. How can I do that? So later in this video, I'll tell you one feature or one product that can help you do that. Okay, let's start with something that will absolutely clean your context window, which is, just make a new one. Okay? Okay, that sounds a little bit like too stupid, right? But, sometimes when your context is getting too big or, your agent is getting too confused, it keeps saying something like, you're absolutely right. And it keeps saying sorry for, his wrongdoing. And I think it's the right time to start a new section. But of course, you don't want to lose all of your valuable context that you have built up during the section. We can actually create a new / command that can help us track all of the progress in our section so that when we create a new section, we don't lose track of all of our previous tasks. So I'm just going to demo it on, Claude Code because, / commands, I've talked about it earlier. So here in my commands folder, I have a new / command, which is progress. And its main job is to track all of the changes, all of the things that happen inside of my section. So now we can use this / command to let the agent make a summary of our section. You can see that there's a progress.md file that has been created. So before I run any tasks, I will tell my agent to read the progress.md file because I want to, let my agent to gather the context from previous sections. But there is a much better way to managing your context, to managing your memories across session, rather than creating static markdown files inside of your project, which can be really annoying. So the solution that I'm talking about here is Byterover. Because Byterover is a memory layer that lets you retrieve and store memories inside of your project into the cloud so that whenever you want to use that memory, you can get it from using our tools. So you don't have to create, markdown files, which are just making your project look disgusting. And the best thing about this is that Byterover let your different coding agents communicate with each other because Byterover works through MCP. So you can use Claude Code, Codex, Cursor, or whatever coding agent you're using and connect it to MCP server of Byterover. So all of the memory across your coding agents will be synced together, which is an amazing thing, especially nowadays. People use too many different agents into one project. Byterover is going to be the memory manager for all of your coding agents. So as you can see here, instead of using like the markdown file as before, I can tell Claude Code to store all of the memories inside of Byterover. So you don't have to create markdown files. I think Claude Code has done storing the memory. Now I can tell Codex to retrieve the exact memory that Claude Code has stored. Maybe I want Codex to review the code that Claude Code has generated. And by using Byterover MCP server, it's just very simple. No markdown files no complex prompting. Just use our tools and you get the best memory, the best context for your coding agents. So Codex has successfully retrieved the memory, and so now I can tell it to review the code or do anything that I want because all of the context has been there for you. Okay, I think we spent a little bit too much time on context window. I think let's move on to the tasks and the tools that we give to your agent. Now let's talk about MCP. Okay, I know MCP is a cool technology. When it first came out, everybody was hooked on it. Like the ability to connect many tools to your agents just using some simple configuration steps is very powerful. But let me tell you something. Adding too much MCP server sucks because MCP servers take up a lot of space in your context window, and some inefficient MCP servers just responds a bunch of nonsense JSON blobs as a response, and these responses will be added back into your agent. So that's the reason I'm telling you that do not add over 3 MCP servers. So whenever you're trying to add a new MCP server into your coding agent, just ask yourselves these 3 questions. So first of all, are you going to use it for long term or just for once? So if you're just using it for once, like a linear MCP server to get your issues on linear, then after you're using it, just delete it from your agent. So in Copilot, you just need to hit this config tools and just remove the MCP server, for example, after you've done using it. And cursor, you're going to head over to the setting and go to the tab tools and MCP and just toggle off any MCP servers that you think are not necessary to your workflow anymore. Claude Code, you just need to use this command, Claude MCP remove, and the name of the MCP server that you think is not necessary to your workflow. Next, just go over to config.toml file and delete any unused MCP server. The second thing is, do your agents still work well when you don't use the MCP servers? If the answer is yes, please do not use that MCP server because it's just going to confuse your agent, burn thousands of tokens, and it's generally not going to give you any great benefit. Finally, do these MCP servers have too many tools? GitHub MCP server is a really great MCP because I can do all sort of things with GitHub using this MCP server, but there is one shortcoming, and it is the fact that this MCP server has over 90 tools, which is just too much for any context window imaginable. Even the most powerful agent cannot handle this amount of tools. Even though the MCP server may be good, but it has too many tools, I don't think you should use it either. So I'm only using MCP servers that serve these 2 purposes. The first one is get knowledge, because most large language models suffer from training cutoff. After the training, they do not get the latest technology, they do not get the latest news. So I always use MCP servers that help me maybe assert the webs or maybe get the latest versions of my frameworks. And another thing that I always concern with my MCP servers is to get context. So context here is really broad. It can be the issues from my linear, it can be reports from my Notion, or it can be the memories from my Byterover MCP server. I think you should do the same too. Don't just add too many MCP servers because you think it's cool, but let me tell you, it is not cool at all. And it just, waste a lot of time and tokens for yourself. And it's burning your money, of course. Now, I think it's a great time to talk about allow tools. And what exactly is allow tools? So, as you know that agents or large language models can be stupid at times. Sometimes it can do dangerous things like deleting your entire code base. And of course, you don't want that. So you want to put some constraints on your agents so that, when giving a certain task, it is only accessible to a number of tools that you allow to. And how can we set the allow tools for Claude Code first of all? So we can do that through subagents. So in the .claude folder, we have another folder for subagents. and it is, we have two sub agents here. First of all, it is the UI designer, and the second one is, for code reviewing. Depending on the task, we want to, have different tools allowed for these sub agents. For UI designer, it's all about coding. So, I wanted to have all read and write tool. And because I'm working with the UI, I also wanted to have, like Figma Assess. And the set of allowed tools for code reviewer is different. For example, for code reviewing, I don't want it to touch any of my code. It's just going to tell me if my code is good and what I need to change on my code. So I only want Claude Code to use read, rep, glop, git, like any basic tools, to read code, search code. And of course, it does not have any tool for edit on my code because it is not what I want for code reviewers. Okay, now you can see that, the code reviewer has been initiated and it is running in the background for me to run my task. And of course, it only has access to, the tools that I allowed it to have here. Now let's talk about allowed tools in Codex. So it's a little bit different. They have an entire system of, allowing accessibility to Codex. So let's talk about sandbox and approvals. So as you can see here, it is a official documentation of Codex, and, they have like two things, sandbox and approvals. And I have an entire video talking about this. So it just means that sandbox is, all of the tools that, your agent is accessible to. And approval just mean that, when agent is trying to use a tool, is it going to ask for your permission or is it going to run the tool anyway? So it's all everything about sandbox and approvals. There are different options that you can run with Codex to make sure that all of the settings are fitting to your workflow. So for example, if I want to make sure that, I run Codex in a very safe manner, I can use this configuration. So what does this mean? So for sandbox, I want a Codex to only have the ability to write in this workspace. So it only has the ability to change code in this project. And for approval, it's going to ask for my approval every time it's trying to run anything. So when I run it and I hit /status, you can see that my sandbox in workspace write and my approval is on request. So if you want even safer, like if you're also want your agent to review code and you ban it entirely from all tools that can edit any line of your code, you can use this option. So what does this option mean? So for sandbox, you only have read-only capabilities, so your agent never touches any line of your code. And for approval, it also asks for your approval when it's trying to read any of your code. So very safe. It does not going to, like delete your entire code base because, in sandbox read only, it does not have the ability to change your code. Again, I can use this option, and to double check, I can hit /status. And yeah, the sandbox and approval is what I just configured right here. So how can we do it in Cursor? So we have custom modes in Cursor. And what is even custom modes? Because, in Cursor, by default, we're going to have for mode, agent, plan, background, and as. But Cursor actually lets you, design your own modes. As you can see here, I have my own mode, which is audit. I can click on it and I can start using it just like the other file modes. And what's even better is that, there's an entire marketplace or like a playbook where you can share your configuration or adopt other people configuration for custom modes. So you can see here, there is a lot of great modes that you can learn from here. And when you create a custom mode, it will let you, choose all of the tool that you will give to that mode. So for example, I want to have a code review mode. And because, for code reviewing, as I said earlier, do not touch my code. So I'm going to untick the edit tool. And I also I want to keep the run tools, because when you review code, you also want to run the code to make sure that it works. MCP tool, yeah, I think it's not necessary in reviewing mode, so I'm going to untick that. Only search and run tools are allowed. Maybe I want to choose the model. Maybe just choose the best model here. I want to choose Sonnet 4.5, and yeah, I hit done. Now I have my code review modes, just like other modes here. Now let's talk about Copilot. This time, Copilot does not disappoint me. It is very easy to set up the tools that you give to your agent. So for example, as I said earlier, Copilot also has, custom modes, as you can see here. That I have my custom plan mode, and in the plan mode, I can actually give all the tools to my agent so that it fit my workflow. So just like with reviewing code in plan mode, I don't want my agent to edit any of my codes. So as you can see here, when I hit configure tool, I don't have any tools that can, affect my code, like edit or maybe create new code. I don't want any of that in the plan mode. So this is all the tools that I want in my plan mode. And again, you can create more modes in the chat modes folder here in .github. So yeah, pretty straightforward to set up modes and set up tools in Copilot this time. Okay, you guys are probably asking that, there are so many ways to set up these agents and they are so different. So for beginners, it can be really hard to remember all of them. So that's the reason why I saved the best for last. It is the context engineering frameworks that you can use universally for all coding agents. Okay, I think it's a time to, say goodbye to your vibe coding mindset. Stop saying something like, please build me this website. Please do this to me. Because, it's fun. It feels like you don't need to know how to code, but of course it will never work in big projects. So let's go on to see how experienced developers do things with agentic coding. Now, just your agentic coding, don't use vibe coding. Nowadays, there are many, spec-driven frameworks, which means that we will go through this cycle all over again. We don't just tell the agent to do things. So first of all, we do a much more fundamental things first. It is specify. We want to make sure that your agent is understanding what you're trying to tell it to do. Because to be honest with you, coding agents are 10 times better at coding than humans. You just need to specify what your agents to code. And that's the reason why the specify step is so important. Because if the agent misunderstands what you're trying to tell it to do, everything else is going to be messed up. Now we have the plan step, just like what we do in the previous tricks. So plan mode, it will look at all the things that you specify here and make a plan for your implementation. So this is the time that you need to have human in the loop. So don't expect your agent to run autonomously the entire time. You gotta be in the loop to tell your agent what to do. So after making the plan, you need to approve if the plan is good enough. If the plan is not sufficient, you can tell your agent to replan again. And when everything is good, we go to the task mode. It just means that it's going to divide your big task into smaller subtasks that are digestible for each phase. Now let's go to the implement phase. When everything is good, when the tasks that are created are also sound, we're going to start implementing the tasks. So again, the cycle renews and you go through the new phase of development. Also begin with specify, plan, task, and implement. Okay, it sounds great, but it feels like you have to do a lot of prompting, a lot of instruction guiding. But don't worry, because in the market right now, there are many experienced developers who have designed, frameworks for you so that you can use them very easily. So I come up with a lot of great resources. So there is a method called BMAT method, and actually this guy is the creator of the method, and he spent over 1 hour talking about it. So you definitely should check it out. Another great resource is SpecGit from GitHub. It also a great framework for you to, try out spec-driven agentic coding. This one is also very good. It's talking about PRP, product requirement prompts. So these are prompts that are getting added to your coding agent so that it understands what you're trying to tell it to do. So definitely check it out because, these are really great sources and they are going to take your context engineering skills to the next level. Yeah, I hope that's true. So to give you a better understanding of how it works, as you can see here, I am at the repo of SpecKit and I can start downloading this repo because it has very detailed instruction here. So the first thing I want to do is click on this install command with UV and go to my project and paste it in. Okay, I think it's now done installing the framework. The next thing I want to do is, I want to initiate SpecKit inside of my project. So specify init and dot here. So as you can see here, it has, very similar UI when you use Claude Code or Codex. So I'm just going to hit yes here. And currently, I probably use Claude Code, so I'm going to click on Claude. And I'm going to use a bash shell here. Okay, I think it's done now. As you can see here, there is one folder named .specify in my project. It has the memory, the script, and the templates. So there's a lot of things you have to learn to fully utilize this framework. And you can check it out in this README file, or you can see the video here. And I will link these resources in this video as well. And as you can see that it supports a lot of agents. So the setting up for other agents is completely the same. So you don't have to worry about, what step is specific to which agent because, these frameworks literally support every agent in the market for you. So the setting up and the configuration is very straightforward. Definitely check it out because I think it is the future. I think vibe coding is a thing of the past. People is going to be crazy about spec-driven development because people want to build real shit with AI, not just some cool demos. Oh boy, someone is going to complain that I have to do too much manual writing because I gotta fill out all of these requirements. But just let me be for real, you don't expect your agent to work well just by using hope. You actually need to put in the work. Maybe you don't have to code anymore, but you have to tell your agent what to code. And just continue vibe coding. And at some time, you're going to realize that you hate your life so much. And you just want to quit coding altogether because it sucks feeling stupid, right? To avoid feeling stupid, I think it's the right time to learn some skills that you can actually use in your work. And spec-driven development coding with agents is one thing that you need to learn in this era, or else you don't have a job. Okay? These are all 9 tricks that I want to tell you guys. And maybe after watching this video, you may feel a little bit smarter when coding with AI. And I think it's time to go outside and touch some grass, And if you have some time, please also check out this video where I compare Codex and Claude Code. So see you in the next video.